Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we'll make this cute little pendant. I'm starting with a 1-inch long teardrop shaped malachite cabochon. And here at its widest point it's probably ½ inch. Yep, about ½ inch. So 13 to 14 millimeters wide, 13 to 15, and then 26 or so millimeters long. And this whole thing is about 2 millimeters wide. Okay, I've got 18 inches of 18 gauge square soft copper wire, and I'm going to start just right here at the approximate middle of it. And what I'm going to do is just skirt the shape of my cabochon. So I know it's a little hard to see down here, but I'm going to place the middle of my wire to the middle of my cab, and I'm just going to do a quick tracing of its shape. I'm a little odd under the camera, but you just do like that. Crisscross these two wires up here and just keep the crisscross center to your wire, just like that. Pull it in a little bit. Keep them flat to each other and just keep this crisscross center as you work these two wires down. Your goal is to make this wire fit just on the upper shoulder of your cab. Okay, so I'm a little bit big. Just going to squeeze this down a little bit. Get some tension on it, make it a little bit smaller than bigger. And that's about right. It should sit right on that upper shoulder. Okay, actually I'm going to make mine a little bit narrower. Just keep this point, this crisscross center as you're working these wires. And you could be doing this down here on your board also. I'm in the air so you can see, but you could be definitely doing it like this, okay? And that sits about right. So I'm going to hammer this. So I want to be just on the inside upper shoulder. And I want my crisscross to stay on this shoulder till it gets, right there, landed at the point. Okay? My square wires have come up on point a little bit. That's okay. So I'll let you look at it. So your wire should be sitting on top of your stone just like that. Okay? And right here where they crisscross, I'm going to get a metal plier, hold everything, and just squeeze. Bring these two to upright. It's okay if they turned up on points. Okay. And we're going to make sure that that little spoon fits the very top of your cab. So try to let you look on the side here. It's just right in the very top. And where this little point is just right at, a millimeter or two above the tip of the stone. Just like that. So we're going to turn these wires back. But before we do, I'm going to hammer this spoon. So right here at the neck, where your wires have gone up on points, if they have, just follow this around, take a nice wide plier, grip it on the square, hold your spoon, just turn your wire up to square, okay? Come to this side, do the same. My outside edge is about right here. So I'll take this wire, turn it up to square. what I want is for these two to meet squarely. So it's kind of like it took a little turn and took a little turn, okay? If yours did not turn up on points here, don't worry about this part. They should just come together squarely right here. But if yours went up on point like mine did, then you can just do that for correction. Okay, and we're going to hammer this. Malachite's real soft, so you don't want it on your block at all. Okay, so I'm just going to hold everything, make sure I'm nice and flat, make sure these two wires are center. I'm going to take my my chasing hammer, hold everything, and starting here at the curve, strike and pull out slightly to flare the wire. And then you can kind of graduate into the sides. So you have a nice flare up here, and then it tapers down the metal, okay? You can just hammer to your liking, nice and clean. The side on the block is the cleaner side, so just turn it over. If you need to re-square your wires, do it right now. That little hammering might have slightly put one of these out, like mine. So, real nice. Okay, well, all we've hammered is this. Let's fit our stone. That looks pretty good. You could sand this if you need to right now. And I'm just going to skip the sanding because we've seen me do it before. So the next thing I want to do is turn this back on itself like a little flipper. So I'm going to take my metal plier, I'm going to just hold it right there, just above where they come together. So I see the tiniest diamond airspace or triangle airspace right there. You see it? Just take a 90-degree bend. Keep the two wires coming straight up the back of your plier. When you get to about here, the plier diameter is uneven. You see it? A little bit thinner, a little bit wider. So when you get about midway, what you might do is turn your plier over and do a squeeze, kind of make both of these sides the same. Okay, so you're creating a little spoon like that. Let's refit our stone. I'm going to spread these two open. Be real careful about the tip of your stone. It'll be a tight fit. There's a little bit of tension. You just put it right back in there. So these two should be right at the tip of your stone, but the tip of your stone is open. These two rails are riding right above the shoulder. And the back is coming up real nice and straight in the center. And your stone is sitting in there evenly. So right here, where the separation is, you want to keep that little tiny separation there, okay? If you've got too much bubble here, you can squeeze, but know your stone. Like my malachite, I would not squeeze this. It'll snap that tip. So if you need to squeeze any bubbling out here, take the stone out and do a real controlled, tiny breath of a squeeze without your stone, okay? Mine doesn't actually need anything. I'm sitting nice and flat. The opening is nice, and it wants to push up. So your job is to keep the stone, shaped to the metal, okay? Now from back here, we're going to bring the wires together a little bit to the center here. And that's going to squeeze, let me take this out now that I talk about it. So I have a little bit of a space here. And what I want to do is just make a little bit of an inside turn. See it? Just a tiniest little bend. It's about a ½ inch up so that I can bring these two wires together but still keep a breath of a split right there. And that way, this should sit, whoop, sorry. That way, when I put the stone back in there, should sit nicely together like that, okay? We're going to wrap these two. Okay? So I'll take my stone out. I'll make sure these two wires are still squared off, and they'll move and jiggle, so don't worry if yours do. Just square them out to each other right here. Just tap them and keep them square to each other. Keep that a little bit open. And then we'll get 16 inches of 22 gauge half round. And I'm going to wrap, from about the middle of this frame is where I'll start. So just above this parting, we'll come up here. We're going to catch the sides when we bring these wires back down. Okay? So we're going to take our 16 inches of 22 gauge half round and just have a leading couple of inches here. Turn it down so that the flat side is on the inside. Make a leading hook. And all of this is nice and straight the rest of the length. Hold your frame. You can hook over the frame right here. Hold that leading 2 inches. Make 3 or 4 nice wraps. Eventually we're going to slide this down to here so these can be snug, but don't make them so snug that your bands don't move, because we'll slide them once we get enough length, okay? So you can hold on to this so it doesn't travel the long end, and you can make 3 or 4 bands and then slide, down here where it's comfortable, and then just start turning. Keep these wraps side by side. Keep your two square wires next to each other. And after about 1/4 inch, you can tap, but tap real lightly so they still move. Right? You can just tap the bubbles out, but we still want them to move. Okay? So we're going to wrap for about 1 inch. If they separate, just push them together. Keep the flat side on your frame. Every now and again, just tap the bubbles out. When you feel like you've got about 1/4 inch, ½ inch, carefully slide it down the neck to about midway. Okay? Don't take your frame out of shape. See, I could have gone a few more because now I have to try to bypass this front. So if you can wrap enough to get you, up here, then that would be better. And that's, that's pretty okay. I want my wraps to settle down to here though, so I'm going to make a few more. keep your two square wires side by side as you wrap. Don't take things out of shape. So hold it right there and slide them down. If they don't move and you feel nervous, take this leading couple of inches and do, 2 or 3 or 5 wraps and get yourself close. Okay? All right, so you should have maybe about 6 inches left to about 1/4 of an inch beyond the head of this. Right there is pretty good. Now you can go ahead and tap. Just leave this one hanging out there for a minute. I'm going to make a couple of more wraps down here. Keep everything nice and level. Okay. You pull your spoon out a little bit if you push the space back. Okay, so I'm about 1/4 of an inch. Is that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 or so wraps above the head of my spoon. Fit my stone. Careful for the tip of your stone, don't snap it off. Coming in and out of here. I say this because I've done this exact thing to this malachite. If it's too tight, don't put pressure on your stone. Separate these wires down here a little bit, right? That's what this gap is for. So slightly open it, like a breath. Slightly open it, and that should take the pressure off the tip of your stone to settle in there a little bit easier, okay? Just like that. So now up here, I want to turn a bail. I'm actually making a bare bail. So we want to harden this stretch of wire a little bit. And a real easy way to do that without hammering is just to kind of burnish the wire. So we can do that with our round nose. Just gonna not grip it to dent it, but kind of grip it enough to just scrape it. Back and forth a few times. Right along here. You'll feel that that's hardened the wire up. Turn it over. Don't go beyond about 1 inch because that's all we need for your bail. Try to be under control. See, I've got both. Just going to scrape a few times to harden that up. Okay? At about 3/4 of an inch above my wraps. Okay? I'll get a round nose plier. And I'm going to use the 2mm dowel here. I'm going to lay it across my wires, right about 3/4 of an inch at the top of this head. And I'm just going to take these 2 wires straight over the frame, straight down the center, just like that. So what I want to do is make a bend right here in each of these wires sideways so that I can bring these 2 halves together without crushing my spoon. So I'm just going to eyeball that. You'd be down there on your cry cut board probably. It's easier if you're, down here. Hold it with your plier. Real nice and steady. Bend out to the left. Take a soft 90-degree out to the left. And I'll come up here so you can see how I'm holding it. Just like that. Get a nice firm grip on the 2 wires. Don't let them, cross over each other. And just turn them out like that, so that when you press them together, and if you want to, you can actually do a slight back bend on that, just like that. You're just right above where your stone would be, and I'm going to put my stone back in there. And you've just bypassed this so that you can catch the neck, okay? So I'm going to put my stone back in. I might have to roll down just slightly. I'm going to make the diameter of this bigger and roll it down a little closer before I wrap the neck. So if you're watching this ahead, you know, bring these down just a little bit more. If you did like me and you need to roll it down a little bit more, you can get your round nose plier back in there. Just work back in carefully. Okay? Grab it right here, right behind it. Pull these up slightly. I'm going to make that space a little bigger, and then just roll it down just slightly more. Okay? Don't munch up your wires too much. So we kind of want these two right above our stone giving downward pressure. So I want it to be a little closer, more like this, right? So take your bend on your dowel, on your bail here, to bring those two wires down. Let me get my stone in here. Ooh. If you need to make a little room. Put the stone back in. And again, you'd be down here, right? Bring these two wires down so that they're living right on top of the stone. Just make sure they're nice and level, just like that. If your stone bounces up too much, I'm going to give a little more space here and bring it down a little. Spread these out slightly, a little bit and evenly. Gives a little bit more space. Help you settle that stone down. Okay, there, without a pushback, you see? Now you can slant these two wires down. Stay, make sure your bail stays center. I'm having a nice bare bail. You could have wrapped all the way around. Okay, it's a nice fit. I'm going to wrap the neck together. So with the wire that's already going, I'm going to straighten this one out. I kind of I'm going to take this existing half round and I'm going to come all the way around these wires. I'm going to move down, towards the armpit of these two. Pull it snug and just work it right over the previous back coil. Just 2 or 3 wraps is all this takes. Make them nice and neat and clean. Then when you get to where you've cleared a couple of them, just take one lap around the already wrapped wire. Hold it right here so that there's no bubble. Just work that coil up. You can use your plier to help you push it into place if need be. Make a nice snug wrap. Bring this wire around, cut it a couple of millimeters and tuck it in. Cut it leaving a couple of millimeters out. Enough to turn into that space. job, you guys. All right. Lay your frame down. Make sure that these two wires are nice and level. Don't collide with your pliers like I'm doing. Make sure that your bail is upright. Okay. And now you can make a little bit of space with the spoon. Slip your stone back in. Get the tip carefully back in there and underneath these two wires, and then bring them forward slightly. And again, I squoze it, so I created a little bit of pressure. If you did that, just, give outward here and outward here. Make it so that your stone slips into place without too much pressure. Look your profile. These should be nice. And now I'm going to bring these two down the sides of my stone. You're holding with a little pressure there so your stone stays seated. I'm going to use its shoulder to help me curve this wire down the side, just like that. Okay? And right above the first bend, I'm going to create the second one and flip this wire straight, diagonally to the back is how this is going to go. So hopefully I can show this to you. So grip it squarely. Just about a couple of millimeters. Don't move anything and just do a 90-degree backward bend. Watch the edge of your stone, don't scratch it. Okay, just like that. It's going to have pressure along the side here. Okay, now we'll do this side and set this side up so we have equal pressure. Just make sure you're sitting in there. Hold the neck of your bail. Work the side of this wire down your stone. So just like that. They don't have to be completely even. Just start the turn, kind of eyeball the whole situation, or you could have measured. Stones are not always even. And our bends are not always even, is why it's always hard to say exactly. Rather just tell you, should be a couple of millimeters up, couple of millimeters up. Turn these wires 90-degree to the back. If you need to put a little tape here to help you out, now's a good time. Okay, get that half round. Just make sure it's sitting where you want it to. Hold these two wires along the sides here. So you got a little sandwich. Get a thin piece of tape. This will just help you. Hold on to everything. Keep that whole sandwich together. Okay, just tape it right about the shoulders there. Okay, so we've got this 2 inches here. And we've got our 2 wires turned up, nice, and we've pretty much even on both sides, and these wires are coming down the sides of our stone, just behind that first one. Okay, we're going to turn these up, and we're going to catch them with this wire. So the tape will eventually have to move here, okay? So the best way to do this is to bring them up crisscross. Hold right here so that we're pinched against the stone. When we got the 90-degree turn, you'd be down here on your board. But basically, we want to turn this wire. There's girth in your stone, so don't chip the edge of your stone. But turn this wire up and diagonal. Just curve it back, just like that, okay? When you get here and you meet the center, take it right here at its edge and turn it upright so that it lays down right next to the center wire. Make sure you don't have a little bubble right there. So say it's kind of an odd 3D curve like that, just like that. And it might have increased the space there a little bit. It's okay. You know, we've got one more to do, so we'll just make it match it. Lay this wire down now, and we're going to come above it. So doing the same thing, hold your sides, and again, you'd be down here. And maybe you can even do it with your fingers if you're strong enough. If you're not, take your plier and help you. See how close I can get. And just, you know, don't make a sharp bend, just make a deliberate corner turn, you see, just like that. They're about even. Make sure it's laying nice and flat. You know, check their levels. And then you can hold that. Just turn this upright so that it lives on the other side of that center. And your half round is under it. Okay? Very nice. Take the half round. Hold these two wires right and, you know, straight up the sides of the back of your pendant there. And we'll just make 2 or 3 little wraps to catch them. We'll move up the pendant frame around all 4 of them here. If you need to remove your tape, and actually I'm going to take my tape off now. This tape should tear pretty easily. If it doesn't, you can get your plier on it. Don't scratch your stone. Take it off. Your stone's not 100% secure yet, so don't let it fall out. Taking the tape off might help you see it better. And now we'll just make 2 or 3 wraps with this leading half round. And if you have to make a little room, because mine's a little tight, let the stone come forward a little bit. You know, take pressure off of here. Get underneath there without any stress. Make sure your coil is landed where you want it. Nice and neat. Right there at the base of those wraps, no bubble. Nice tight coil. Check the front. Don't worry too much. It looks really good. Don't worry too much about the stone. We're going to pass one more time. Okay, just make a nice tight wrap. I'm going to make one more underneath all 4 of them. Make them pretty. If you want to do 3, you can do 3. I'm going to do 3. I've cut enough for 3. Okay. I'm going to end this by cutting it right over here. So I've actually made 4. And then I'm going to slip the end underneath. So you'll cut leaving about 2 or 3 millimeter, or, you know, yeah, I'd say that's about 2 millimeter. Turn this tip under, get on top of it, and tap it underneath all those wires. Okay? And then just make sure that you're laying nice. It's okay if there's a little upward turn. We're going to go another layer. So that looks pretty good. We can still move this front wire a little bit. You see there's a little bit of flexibility because we have this open bit down here. So you can Make it so that your stone settles in there nicely. Tap these shoulders down close. That should look pretty good. Okay, all right, so we've got a few more inches here. Hopefully you were a little more even than I was in your center. It's okay, we just need, this is probably 3 inches from the shoulder. So we'll do a little bit of a flipper. Right here, we want this middle wire to be closer to the top front. The next flip is going to be right here, right behind it. Okay, so you can just use your finger and shape yours. And now up here, while they're standing up here, and they're even and together, let's take our Sharpie marker. And you can eyeball it, or you can actually measure it, but just try to make you're here from the shoulder here, it's probably 3 or 4 millimeter. You can go taller or shorter. You just want to make sure you leave enough room to get a chain. So don't make the little flips so big that you interfere with getting a chain in there. All right, make your little mark, travel it around to the front so you can see it. Eyeball and make sure that's a nice distance. So probably 1 millimeter or 2 above your wraps. Depends on what you wrapped. About 4 millimeters up from the shoulder is where I am. I'm going to take my fine plier, hold just above my mark, brace the back so you get a nice level bend. Just come down the front like that. Do the other one. Just right above your mark, turn the wire, bracing right here so you have some leverage. Just eyeball them and make sure your turn is happening evenly. Sometimes I turn upside down. Just be right there and see that they're fairly even. You're flat against the back here. Okay. Pinch right here. It's tight. We're going to turn them out. So pinch the neck with enough room just to the tips. Make a nice elegant turn. Okay. Do the same for this side first. Just get a nice elegant turn out. Just like that. Make sure you pass that second wire. So I'm just above that second wire. I'm going to take a little wider plier. I want to settle these wires so that they are closer to the back, right? So I've got them curved out that they'll pass everything. And now with the little wider plier and some back bracing right here on this, we're just going to squeeze. Or if you can do it with your finger, do it with your finger. Gently squeeze. Make sure this leading wire stays level. Gently squeeze until you pass that center wire. Don't go too far with your squeeze. Okay? So you're kind of just living on the back edge right there. That's pretty good. The stone might, you might be having a little bit of a forward backward, and that's okay. You just keep your fingers together. We haven't tied this together, and that's so that you can have some flexibility here. Just make sure that stays forward. Squeeze a little bit more. That's pretty good. They're pretty even. And I'm just going to slope down the back edge. Okay, just like that. Try to get your slopes kind of hold the neck here. Just use that back edge. Okay, just slope the wire down that back edge. Same for this side. Make sure that your wires are up against the back. Just slope down that edge. Just like that. Okay. That looks pretty good. And with this last one here, we'll come just a couple of millimeter. Hold everything. You see we're not tied on. Whoop. Do the same. Just turn to the back inside. Go across. I just nicked it, so I'll have to sand that little bit. And then we can do this side to make sure that we're even. You just barely see that off the shoulder. We'll show it more here in a second. So it'll be just like that. Just stay close to the stone for now and get the bends right. So hold it right there. Keep in mind that this, and again, you're going to be, down here on your cry-cut board. So it'll be a little easier for you. Just keep in mind to, watch your stone. Just turn it up like that. Come right next to this first shoulder, just like that. Okay, do this one. I probably over bent that one a little bit. Take my plier. Just do a nice eyeball. They don't have to be super perfect. It's okay if they're a little off on each side. Just practice. It's a little bit of a squirrely cage. It's a one wire. Just turn it up just like that. Straight up the back. Hold right here. First, let's crisscross these two wires to the center so that we can get rid of those here soon. My one is a little bit short. Just do a nice even crisscross like that. So let's just trim these evenly. So I just crisscrossed them, and then I just kind of gave an even trim. Just make sure these two are pressed up nice. Just clip them till they're even. Let's go ahead and tie those two. So we'll take another bit of 22 gauge half round wire. Slip in with the flat side up. You can slip into this space right here. Grab both of those. Get right up here to the edge of the stone. Get your two ears together. And just make 2 or 3 little wraps. To tie those together up there. Okay. While they're up here, let's go ahead and turn these into little curls. Hold your shoulders. Curve that one a little bit. My shoulder went out there. Hold your shoulders right here. All those little bits. You can use this fine plier. Let's turn a little curve. Don't let anything change. Turn it down. Tap it closed. Lay it down against the back. It should be flush. Okay? Same with this side now. Take a little turn with the fine plier. Turn it all the way over. Make a closed little loop. Lay the shoulder down. Flat against the stone. Lay that loop down, I mean. Okay? And with this wire, travel down. Make sure there's no loop. Just pull that side down so you have nice bands. And then pass one to catch each of those. Hopefully they're living in a spot where you can just come down here and get them both. Push this one down. Make sure it's laying on the stone there. Sometimes you have to straighten out the end of that. Mine got a little munchy and the space is real tight, so a little bit of munchy becomes a lot more munchy underneath there. Okay, there it goes. Pass it through. Get a nice tight wrap across all of that. And you can do all that to your liking. You could have even, wrapped solidly all the way down. I'm just trying to save some time here, give you the idea of what you're trying to do. And then I'm going to end this just by wrapping a couple of times around this single one. Together. Just make it nice and neat, just like that. Same thing with this upper one. I like to wrap it once around the single frame wire just to make sure it doesn't let go down the line. You can cut and tuck it right in there. Just like that. I went a little bit short, but you won't. Okay, whew. Very nice. Now let's start to add a little bit of leveling here. So just with your fingers, you're making sure that you don't feel anything. I've got a little nick I got to sand out. positioning this front. Just squeeze and manipulate with your fingers if you need to. And now these upper wings, if we need to see them a little bit more from the back, we can just make a little bit of a scooch out. Don't do anything drastic. Just pull it out slightly. Take your plier. Make the slightest outward turn. Don't slip. Do you see what I'm doing? I'm just turning from there, the shoulder out a little bit. And I'm giving it a little bit more wire. I'm taking from the loop. You just want it to be a breath. You don't even have to do that. Okay, so cute. Just use your fingernails. Make sure these third wires are up on the shoulder. If you feel like these need to come in, you can take a nylon jaw. See how these second ones are out just a little bit. Don't break your stone. Gentle squeezing, real gentle squeezing. Just rubbing them up and down like that. Kind of get them going inward a little bit. Okay, so that looks pretty good. And now we can do a little lifting right here. See, all I'm doing, I'm holding it right here with my fingernail. I'm just pushing up. You know, we have this separation here, so it gives us room for some adjustment. So we can, you know, fan these out slightly. Open this bottom up so that we can sink our stone a little further down. Okay? Just work carefully so that you're not chipping anything. Just like that. Now we can do a couple of little ties up here at the shoulder. I'm just going to use some half round fragments. And I'm going to slip from the front, so my flat side's up. I'm going to slip into the front of the shoulder here, all three pieces. There should be a nice little gap right there. And I'm going to make 3 little wraps around the entire shoulder. Okay, just like that. Cut and tuck that one back there. You can cut that one back there. This one with just about 1 millimeter so that you can roll it underneath there and tap it. Okay. Take the other fragment of half round, flat side up. I don't know if you can see it, but the space just above the stone into the shoulder, just like that. Just hold it, that leading fragment. You're just to the side of this ear and make a nice 3 wraps, just like the other side. Pinch the cut. Cut the second one. Turn the tip in. Dive it into that shoulder. Okay? That should be pretty good. Hope you love it. It's a great pendant that's elegant. Put our favorite ball chain on here. That bail is big enough for beads, leather, ball chain, anything. Okay, enjoy. Nice and simple. And beautiful on the back as well.